Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, LTDA members. My name is Kevin Paul, and I'm a taxi driver and a member of the LTDA. I'm going to talk to you for the next 5 minutes or so, and then our solicitor, David Alcock, is going to say a few things too. Firstly, thank you to all for attending or watching this meeting. I am one of a group of over 400 drivers who, a few years ago, were concerned about how the LTDA was being run. We were concerned enough that we went to get legal advice from David, and that's why we're here today. I just want to cover 3 points. Number one, who does the LTDA belong to? Is it the members or somebody else? Number two, do you want the people in charge of it to be accountable or not? And number three, if you do, will you vote for the rule changes we are putting forward, which we will briefly explain? Point number one, who does the LTDA belong to? As its members, it belongs to you, or rather, all of us. It's our subs that are funding it, and it's our money that's being spent. Nobody has the right to spend that money without accounting to the members what it's being spent on. Like other organisations, the LTDA isn't run by the membership. It's run by a group of people on their behalf, the Council of Management, or COM as we call it. We have a set of rules which should state how the COM are accountable to us members, except our rules don't. At present, it's run by Steve McNamara and the COM. That's just 10 people, and they decide what happens and how the LTDA's money is spent. And they're not accountable to us like they should be, because over the years, the rules have gradually been changed. David will tell you more about that. Salami slicing the rights of members so that members can't even call a members' meeting anymore. What's more, the LTDA is actually a co-op, which means that every member should have a say. It's the FCA's job to keep an eye on that. And David and his colleagues explained to us that we needed to get the FCA's help to call this meeting and set things straight again. And that's why we're here. Been much connection between the branch and the COM. And then the COM suspended the central branch, which contained the majority of drivers. The reality is there is very little connection. The COM just did what it liked, and there was no way of questioning the COM about decisions. For years now, the LTDA has been captured by the COM. Not only are members unable to hold them to account, the COM have the power to run the LTDA as their own fiefdom, riding roughshod over the members' interests and requests. We've got members on the COM who have been there for over 20 years or nearly 30 years. Some of them don't even drive cabs anymore. They're paying themselves salaries, but we don't know how much, and we have no idea how the money is being spent. I do know that if you try to ask, you're likely to get expelled like others have been, as David will explain shortly. And yes, one member, one vote needs to be included in the rules. But where members have no say on what is being voted on, and the COM controls that, then one member, one vote is meaningless. In fact, it becomes a tool in their hands. We need one member, one vote, but with other essential protections alongside. This is the straight choice. Do members want a COM that is accountable to the membership or not? So, to my third and final point, will you vote for our proposed order changes? Members need to think very carefully when casting their vote. If the COM's proposals go through, the situation will be even worse than it is now. It will cost members £25,000 to call a special meeting, which means it will never happen. The COM will continue to be able to expel members who ask awkward questions. The COM will have no effective accountability to the members. Members will have no effective way of engaging in the organisation that they own. And, as David will explain shortly, you may never know the true position of the finances of our LTDA. Therefore, the LTDA will be permanently captured. You should vote for the applicants' proposals because they make the COM accountable for the money they spend, just like any other board. They put in place a fair process when dealing with expulsions and disputes. They provide every member the right to vote on any resolution put forward. They leave branches in place so that a proper review can take place to consider the implications of removing them. And, as a last resort, 100 members can call a special meeting to hold the COM to account. So, to conclude, please vote to protect your LTDA, your money and your trade's future. Vote for the applicant's proposals. Thank you. I'll now hand over to David.
So good afternoon, colleagues. I'm hoping by the magic of technology, you can now see me on your screens. As Kevin said, many thanks for taking the time to view this meeting and to understand the issues. My name is David Alcock, and I'm a solicitor specialising in co-ops, and we've been supporting the applicants during this process. I want to answer one simple question today. Why should you care what the rules of the LTDA say? Why does it matter? The rules matter because they shape how members can engage with the association. They define who the LTDA belongs to and who can control it. They tell you how you can vote, how you can hold the COM to account, if you can, and what you can do if there are problems. We started to learn what the problems are when we were contacted by the applicants. The first thing that we heard was that some of the applicants had real concerns about how the LTDA was being run. Members have expressed some really serious worries to us. Just for example, no accounts have been filed with the FCA for the last 2 financial years. Now, why is that? In the year 2018-19, the last year we have accounts for on the record there, the LTDA lost over £800,000 in that year. The previous year, it lost over £1 million. There were 11 committee members, and therefore, on average, 6 other staff during the year, and the association still spent nearly £1.3 million on salaries and expenses. That's an average of over £76,000 each in a year when the association lost over £1 million. What's happened to the proceeds from Taxi House, which was sold for £21 million in 2020? Now, the point of raising these things today is not the detail. The point is the applicants were trying to raise these issues and ask the COM about them. But instead of dealing with those issues and explaining where the money had gone and why the COM was spending the money in that way, the COM tried to expel them instead. So we looked at the rules to work out what members could do. Now, in every company in the UK, bar none, shareholders who have between them 10% of the votes can force the company to call a general meeting and propose a resolution to remove the directors. That right is guaranteed by the law and applies to a company irrespective of what its rules say. In a co-op, however, that law doesn't apply, so you have to look just at the rules. Now, we work with co-ops every day, all the time, and the rules of every co-op that I've ever seen have similar rights to those that companies have, usually for 10% of the members or 100 of them, whichever is the lower number, to have the right to call a members' meeting and propose whatever they want to propose, except yours. In your co-op, the LTDA, to call a special meeting, you have to get over 50% of the members to agree. That's over 5,000 signatures. Now, that rule was changed back in 2010. Before that, it read 1/10. Ask yourself, why would that rule change have been made in the first place? So the first change the applicants are proposing is to put your co-op back in line with other co-ops so that you, as members, can call a members' meeting if you need to. Now, the COM are also proposing some changes to this rule. They've changed it so that 500 members will have to sign something to call a meeting instead of 5,000. But now, they also want each person signing to put in at least £50 before they'll even look at it. That's £25,000. And you only get that back if the resolutions you want to propose get passed. And alongside that, the Com are proposing to introduce a new rule, which means they get to veto every proposal for a resolution at a members' meeting. They can turn it down for a whole series of reasons, including that it puts the current Com in a bad light. This really is about whether you as members can hold the Com to account, or whether the rules make it so difficult in practice to do so that it becomes impossible. The second important change that we want to make is to give members an independent right of appeal against Com decisions around expulsions. That's because the Com has already expelled around 20 members or so in the last year for daring to question what the Com were doing. Let me give you an example of how that worked. Lots of you may know Anthony Minus, who was on the Com at one point. He's been part of the group trying to help make these changes. Last year, some people on the Com decided to complain about Anthony. The complaints came from people on the Com. The investigation was carried out by the Com. We asked for details of that investigation. They never came. The decision to expel Anthony was taken by a committee of members of the Com. And when he appealed, his appeal was heard, you guessed it, by the Com, who, surprise, surprise, upheld their previous decision. Now, that's not justice, and it's not fair. And again, that rule was changed back in 2011 to put all those powers in the hands of the Com. Before that, the committee considering the decision had to have a majority of independent members on it, and any appeal was to the full membership. That's why the applicants are proposing a new rule on disputes, which gives a right to ask Co-ops UK, the sector body, to appoint someone independent to review decisions like this. Lots of big co-ops have that right in their rules to protect their members. The Com don't want that rule. Again, you might ask yourself why that is. Why would the Com want to have all the power over expulsions itself? Why would the Com want to propose the removal of a right of independent appeal in the first place? Draw your own conclusions. Now, the Com want you to think this is all about one member, one vote. What they're not telling you is that we are proposing voting by one member, one vote too. We have kept the branch structure in the rules for now, so there's somewhere for members to discuss things, agree proposals and put suggestions forward. But we are very clear that future changes to the rules and any other resolution to be put to the membership can be one member, one vote, including meetings online with ballots afterwards. Don't be misled into thinking that the Com are the champions of one member, one vote. We want it too. The Com want to remove all formal roles for the branches in the governance. The effect of their proposals across the piece is that the 10 or so people on the Com are the only people who get to say what resolutions are put to members. There will be no other way of putting something to the membership than to go to the Com and say, please, sir, can we have a vote on this? That's not democracy, and it's not cooperation. This isn't about one member, one vote. Frankly, it's about power, and where that power sits, and who gets to have the final say. We say the LTDA should belong to its members. You pay your subs, and as Kevin said, it's your association. The effect of the Com's proposals is to say, it belongs to us. We get to say what you can vote on. We get to decide what gets put to members. And if you don't like it, well, we get to decide if you can stay or if you have to go. But you as the members can change all this. If you vote for the applicant's proposals, then the LTDA can have a fresh start. There's lots to do. But if you vote for our changes to the rules, then it's the first step towards making the association yours again. We think that's worth standing up for. Vote for the LTDA to belong to its members. Vote for the applicant's proposals. Thank you.